2 months until the wedding. Khloe sat in her office reviewing quarterly reports when her phone rang. An LA area code she didn't recognize. "Khloe Parker," she answered professionally. "Miss Parker, this is Richard Chun from Apex Marketing Group in Los Angeles. Do you have a moment?" Apex, one of the biggest marketing firms in the country. Khloe straightened in her chair. "Of course. I'll get straight to the point. We've been following your work on the Lux campaign. Impressive doesn't begin to cover it. We're expanding our West Coast operations and looking for a creative director to lead the division. The position would be based in Los Angeles, salary starting at $350,000, full benefits, equity package." Khloe's breath caught. $350,000. More than triple her current salary. That's very generous," she managed. "You've proven you can deliver results under pressure. The awards ceremony situation, the way you handled that public confession showed integrity that's rare in this industry. We want someone with both talent and character." He paused. "I know you're engaged to James Glover. We're prepared to offer a relocation package and help find opportunities for your fiancé in LA if that's a concern." Opportunities for James. As if a billionaire CEO needed help finding work. "Can I think about it?" Khloe asked. "Of course, but we're moving quickly on this. I'll need an answer by Friday." 3 days. After hanging up, Khloe sat staring at her computer screen. Los Angeles. Creative director. A position she dreamed of but never thought she'd get this young. A chance to build something entirely her own, outside of James's shadow. But it would mean leaving New York. Leaving Glover Industries. Leaving James. She didn't mention the call to anyone that day. Not to James when they had dinner. Not to Margaret when they reviewed campaign analytics. She kept it locked inside, turning it over in her mind. That night, lying in bed beside James, she finally spoke. "What if I got a job offer? Somewhere else. Somewhere amazing?" James set down his book. "Did you? Hypothetically. Hypothetically, I'd want you to take it if it made you happy." His gray eyes studied her face. "But this isn't hypothetical, is it?" She told him about Apex, the position, the salary, Los Angeles. "That's an incredible opportunity," James said carefully. "Creative director at Apex. That's a career-defining role. 3,000 miles away from you. Details." But his voice was tight. "When do they need an answer?" "Friday." He was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to jump at it. Prove I can succeed somewhere that isn't Glover Industries. Build something that's entirely mine." She turned to face him. "But part of me doesn't want to leave. Doesn't want to disrupt what we're building together. Those parts aren't mutually exclusive. You could take the job. We could do long distance for a while. Or I could." He stopped. "You could what?" "I could step back from Glover Industries. Promote someone to CEO. Move to LA with you." Khloe sat up abruptly. "James, you can't be serious. This company is your life." "It was my life. Before you." He pulled her back down beside him. "I've been thinking about succession planning anyway. The board's been pushing for it. I'm 38. Eventually I need to transition leadership. Eventually doesn't mean now. And not because I got a job offer. Why not? You've spent months proving yourself in my shadow. Maybe it's time for both of us to step into something new." His hand found hers. "I'm not saying it would be easy, but we'd figure it out." "You'd really leave Glover Industries?" "For me, I'd leave anything for you. The question is, do you want this job? Really want it? Or are you considering it because you think you should?" That was the question she'd been avoiding. Did she want Los Angeles? Or did she want to prove she could succeed without James? "I need to think about it," she said finally. "Then think. And be honest with yourself about what you actually want. Not what looks good on paper. Not what proves a point. What you genuinely want." Over the next 2 days, Khloe couldn't focus on anything else. She researched Apex extensively. Talked to contacts who'd worked there. The opportunity was legitimate. A chance to lead a major division, work with Fortune 500 clients, shape strategy for some of the biggest brands in the world. But every scenario she imagined ended with one problem. James. Long distance would be brutal. She'd seen it destroy other couples. And asking him to leave Glover Industries, the company he'd built from nothing, felt impossibly selfish. Wednesday afternoon, Eleanor appeared in Khloe's office unannounced. "I heard about the Apex offer," she said, settling into a chair without invitation. "How did you?" "I have connections everywhere, including at Apex." Eleanor's expression was unreadable. "Impressive position. Substantial salary. Are you taking it?" "I don't know yet." "What's holding you back?" "James. The wedding. Everything we've built here." Eleanor studied her for a long moment. "Can I tell you something about my marriage?" "About James's father?" Khloe nodded. "I met Robert Glover when I was 23. He was brilliant, ambitious, completely overwhelming. I had a scholarship to study international law at Oxford. Full ride. Dream opportunity." Eleanor's voice softened with memory. "I turned it down to marry Robert, to support his business ventures, to be the wife a man like him needed." "Do you regret it?" "Some days, yes. I wonder who I would have become if I'd chosen myself instead of him. What I could have accomplished." She met Khloe's eyes. "But I also got James from that marriage. And a life of comfort and influence I wouldn't have had otherwise." There's no clear answer. Just choices and consequences. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I don't want you making the same choice without understanding what you're giving up. Or what you're gaining." Eleanor leaned forward. "If you take the LA job and James follows you, he'll resent it eventually. Even if he doesn't mean to, even if he loves you, leaving his company will eat at him. And if I stay, you might resent him, might wonder what you gave up for this relationship. So I'm trapped either way." "You're not trapped. You're facing a choice between two good options. That's a privilege, not a prison." Eleanor stood. "Whatever you decide, make sure it's your decision. Not what you think James wants. Not what looks best publicly. What you genuinely choose for yourself." After Eleanor left, Khloe pulled out her phone and called Richard Chun at Apex. "Mr. Chun, I need to ask you something. If I took this position, how much autonomy would I actually have?" "Complete creative control over your division. You'd report to the board quarterly, but day-to-day operations would be yours." "And what's the real reason you want me? Is it my work? Or is it the publicity from being James Glover's fiancé?" A pause. "Then honestly, it's both. Your work speaks for itself. The Lux campaign is exceptional. But your public profile doesn't hurt. You're a known quantity now. That brings attention and credibility." At least he was honest. "I need until Friday," Khloe said. "But I need you to understand something. If I take this job, it's because I want the work. Not the attention. Not the profile. If that's a problem, we should end this conversation now." "That's not a problem. That's exactly why we want you. Too many people in this industry chase fame over substance. You chase results." After hanging up, Khloe sat in silence. She had 48 hours to make a decision that would define her future. That evening, she found James in his home office, reviewing contracts. He looked up. "You want me to come with you?" "No. I need to do this alone. See the opportunity for what it is, not filtered through us." Something flickered in his eyes. Hurt, maybe, or fear. But he nodded. "Okay. When do you leave?" "Tomorrow morning. I'll be back Friday." "The day you have to give them an answer." "Yes." He stood, moving around the desk to pull her into his arms. "Whatever you decide, we'll make it work. I meant what I said. I'll follow you if that's what you need. I don't want you to follow me. I don't want you to sacrifice for me." She pulled back to look at him. "I want us to build a life we both choose. Not one where someone's always compromising." "Life is compromise, Khloe. Especially when you love someone." "I know. But I don't want to start our marriage with resentment already built in." Los Angeles was exactly what Khloe expected. Sunshine, palm trees, traffic, and an energy completely different from New York's hustle. Apex Marketing Group occupied a sleek building in Century City. Richard Chun met her in the lobby personally, giving her a tour that showcased everything the position offered. The creative team was young and talented. The client roster was impressive: tech companies, entertainment brands, luxury goods. The office had that California startup vibe: open floor plans, espresso bars, bean-bag chairs in meeting rooms. "This would be your division," Richard said, showing her a corner office with views of the city. 30-person team to start. Budget of $15 million for the first year. Complete autonomy over campaign development and client selection. It was everything she'd dreamed of professionally. A chance to lead, to build, to prove herself entirely separate from James Glover's influence. But as she stood in that corner office, looking out at a city that wasn't home, all she could think about was what she'd be leaving behind. "Can I ask you something?" Khloe said. "Honestly, of course. Would you have offered me this position if I wasn't engaged to James Glover? If I didn't have the publicity from the awards ceremony scandal?" Richard considered this carefully. "Truthfully, probably not this quickly. You're talented, but you're also young and relatively inexperienced at this level. Under normal circumstances, you'd need another 2 or 3 years before we'd consider you for creative director. So the opportunity is accelerated because of my relationship. The opportunity is accelerated because of your public profile, which includes your relationship, but also includes successfully launching a 500,000-unit campaign, winning multiple industry awards, and handling a crisis with grace." He met her eyes. "You're not getting this job because of James Glover. But you're getting it now instead of in 3 years because people know who you are. There's a difference." It was fair. More fair than Khloe wanted to admit. She spent the rest of the day meeting the team, reviewing current campaigns, understanding the scope of what she'd be leading. Everyone was professional, welcoming, genuinely excited about the possibility of her joining. That night, alone in her hotel room, Khloe called Christina. "Help me think through this," she said after explaining the situation. "What should I do?" "What do you want to do?" Christina asked. "Not what makes sense strategically. What does your gut say?" "My gut is confused. The job is amazing, but leaving James feels impossible." "Then don't leave him. Do long distance. People make it work." "Do they? Really? Or do they just delay the inevitable breakup?" "Some do. Some don't." Christina's voice softened. "Khloe, I've known you for 6 years. You've never been the person who chooses the safe option. You went to James's office when everyone said not to. You stood in front of that board meeting and defended yourself. You confessed your resume lies publicly instead of hiding. You're not built for safe. So you think I should take the job? I think you should ask yourself what you'll regret more: taking the job and maybe losing James? Or staying for James and maybe losing yourself?" After hanging up, Khloe lay awake most of the night, Christina's question echoing in her mind. She flew back to New York Friday morning, still uncertain. James met her at the penthouse, searching her face for answers she didn't have. "How was it?" he asked. "Perfect. Everything I could want professionally." She set down her bag. "Which makes this harder. Have you decided?" "I need to talk it through. Really talk it through. With you. Honestly." They sat on the couch, the city stretching out beyond the windows. "If I take this job," Khloe started, "and you come with me, be honest. Would you resent me?" James was quiet for a long moment. "Eventually, probably yes. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but leaving Glover Industries, the company I built from nothing, that would eat at me, even if I tried not to let it." The honesty hurt, but she'd asked for it. "And if I don't take it?" Khloe continued. "If I stay here, stay at Glover Industries, marry you and build a life in New York, will I resent you? I don't know. Will you? I don't know either. That's the problem." She took his hand. "I love you. I love what we've built together. But I also don't want to wake up in 10 years wondering what I gave up. Wondering who I could have been. So take the job. We'll figure out the rest." "Just like that? You'd be okay with me leaving?" "No. I'd hate it. I'd miss you every single day. Long distance would be torture. His gray eyes held hers. But I'd rather have you resenting distance than resenting me. Khloe felt tears building. There has to be another option. Something where we both get what we need. Maybe there is. James stood, pacing to the windows. What if we postpone the wedding? Her stomach dropped. What? Not cancel. Postpone. You take the LA job. We do long distance for a year. See if this is sustainable. See if we're strong enough to survive being apart. He turned back to her. If we are, we get married knowing we can handle anything. If we're not, better to know now than after we're legally bound. You want to delay our wedding to test our relationship? I want us both to be certain. To choose each other knowing exactly what we're choosing. He moved back to the couch. Khloe, we fell in love during a crisis. We've been in survival mode since we met. Maybe we need time apart to figure out if this works when we're not constantly fighting external threats. It made terrible, logical sense. And it broke her heart. What if the distance breaks us? She whispered. Then we weren't as strong as we thought. Better to know now. And what if it doesn't? What if we survive the year and realize we wasted time we could have been married? Then we get married with absolute certainty instead of hopeful optimism. His hand cupped her face. I love you enough to let you go. To give you space to become whoever you're meant to be. Even if that's someone who realizes she doesn't want to be with me. I'll always want to be with you. Then prove it. Take the job. Build your career. We'll visit each other, call every day. Make it work however we can. And in a year, if we're still certain, we get married knowing we chose each other over everything else. Khloe wanted to argue. Wanted to say they didn't need to test anything. That love was enough. But deep down, she knew he was right. They'd never had normal. Never had space to just be. Without blackmail or scandals or corporate warfare. 1 year, she said finally. I take the LA job. We postpone the wedding. We see if this is real or if it's just adrenaline and crisis bonding. 1 year, James agreed. They sat in silence, holding each other, both knowing everything was about to change. At noon, Khloe called Richard Chin. I'm accepting the position. I can start in 3 weeks. Excellent. We're thrilled to have you. I'll send over the contract this afternoon. After hanging up, Khloe felt a strange mix of exhilaration and grief. She'd just accepted her dream job and postponed her dream wedding. The next 3 weeks blurred together. Khloe transitioned her projects at Glover Industries to other team members. Said goodbye to colleagues who'd become friends. Packed up the office that had been hers for such a brief, intense time. Her parents threw a small going-away dinner. Her mother cried. Her father gave his standard warning about taking care of herself. Eleanor pulled Khloe aside before she left. I'm proud of you for choosing yourself instead of the easier path. It doesn't feel like I chose myself. It feels like I chose my career over my relationship. Those are the same things sometimes. And that's okay. Eleanor squeezed her hand. Make this year count. Build something extraordinary. And if you and James are meant to be, you'll find your way back to each other. The night before Khloe's flight to LA, she and James had dinner at the restaurant where they'd had their first real date. Bruno's in Little Italy. The same corner table. The same menu. Everything familiar yet completely different. Are we making a mistake? Khloe asked over dessert. Choosing to be apart when we could choose to be together? I don't know. But I know we're being honest with ourselves. That has to count for something. They returned to the penthouse, her penthouse for one more night, and made love with an intensity that felt like both a beginning and an ending. In the morning, James drove her to the airport himself. No driver, no security, just them. At the departure's curb, he pulled her close. I love you, no matter what happens this year, no matter where we end up. I love you. I love you too. She kissed him, trying to memorize the feeling. 1 year, and then we decide. 1 year. Los Angeles was everything New York wasn't. Sprawling instead of vertical, sunshine instead of seasons, beaches instead of subway systems. Khloe threw herself into work with an intensity that bordered on obsession. She had something to prove, that she could succeed without James, without Glover Industries, without the safety net of his influence. Her first month, she landed 2 major clients. Her second month, she restructured the entire creative division's workflow, increasing efficiency by 30%. By month 3, Apex's West Coast revenue had increased 15%. Richard Chun called her into his office. "You're exceeding every expectation. The board wants to expand your division. Add another 20 staff members. Increase your budget to $25 million. It was validation. Pure, undeniable validation that she'd earned this position through merit. But at night, alone in her Venice Beach apartment, she missed James with a physical ache. They talked every day, video calls over morning coffee, texts throughout the day, longer conversations before bed. He told her about board meetings and new projects. She told him about campaigns and client wins. But it wasn't the same as being together. Month 4, James flew to LA for a long weekend. They spent 3 days remembering why they'd fallen in love. Dinners on the beach, exploring the city together, long hours in bed reconnecting physically and emotionally. "I hate this," James said Sunday night before his flight back. "I hate being 3,000 miles away from you. I hate it too. But the work, James, I'm building something real. Something that's entirely mine. I know. I'm proud of you." He pulled her close. "But I miss you every single day. 8 more months. We can do 8 more months." Could they? Some days Khloe wasn't sure. Month 6 brought a crisis. One of Khloe's team members made a catastrophic error on a major campaign, sending unfinalized creative to a client who immediately went public with criticism. Khloe handled it the way James had taught her. Direct, transparent, taking full responsibility as division leader even though the mistake wasn't hers. "That's my team member, so that's my failure," she told the client in a tense conference call. "Here's how we fix it, and here's how we ensure it never happens again." The client stayed. The team member learned. And Khloe realized she'd internalized James's leadership style without even realizing it. She called him that night. "I channeled you today. Handled a crisis exactly like you would have. How'd it go?" "It worked. Clients happy. Teams stronger. But James, I realized something. I'm not building something separate from you. Everything I do here is influenced by what I learned from you. Your strategies, your approach, your ruthless honesty. That's not a bad thing. You're taking what worked and making it yours. But what if I can't separate who I am from who I became with you? What if choosing my career over us doesn't actually work because you're embedded in everything I do?" James was quiet for a long moment. "Then maybe the question isn't career versus relationship. Maybe it's about integration. Finding a way to have both. How? I don't know yet, but we have 6 months to figure it out." Month 7, Khloe got another offer. A global CMO position at a Fortune 500 tech company. Twice her Apex salary. Based in San Francisco. She turned it down without hesitation. Richard Chun was surprised. "That's a massive opportunity. Why say no?" "Because I'm building something here. And I'm learning that constantly chasing the next bigger opportunity means never appreciating what you have." She thought of James, of their relationship, of the choice to be apart. Sometimes the best move is to stay where you are and go deeper instead of broader. That conversation shifted something in her. Made her realize she'd been approaching this year wrong. She wasn't supposed to prove she could succeed without James. She was supposed to figure out who she was both with him and without him. To understand herself clearly enough to choose wisely. Month 8. Eleanor flew to LA for a surprise visit. "How are you really?" she asked over lunch in Malibu. "Exhausted. Successful. Lonely." Khloe pushed food around her plate. "I thought this year would make everything clearer. Instead, I'm more confused than ever." "About what?" "Whether taking this job was the right choice. Whether postponing the wedding made sense. Whether James and I are strong enough to survive this distance." She set down her fork. "I love him. I know that. But is love enough when we're building separate lives in separate cities? Love is never enough by itself. You also need timing, compatibility, willingness to compromise." Eleanor studied her. But you already know that. So what are you really asking? I'm asking if I made a mistake, if I chose my career over the person I love and will regret it forever. Did you choose your career over James? Or did you choose yourself? What's the difference? Everything. Eleanor leaned forward. Choosing your career over James would mean actively picking professional success at his expense. You didn't do that. You chose to develop yourself independently, to build confidence in your abilities outside his influence. That's choosing yourself. That's healthy. It doesn't feel healthy. It feels lonely. Growth is often lonely. That doesn't make it wrong. After Eleanor left, Khloe spent the weekend thinking about who she'd been when she arrived in LA, desperate to prove herself, convinced she needed to succeed alone to be valid, and who she was now, confident in her abilities, yes, but also clear that success meant nothing without someone to share it with. Month 9, she flew to New York for Thanksgiving. The penthouse felt like home in a way her Venice apartment never had. "I have a proposal," James said over dinner. "Hear me out before you say no." "Okay. What if I opened a New York office for my investment firm in LA? Small operation, maybe 10 people. It would give me a reason to be in California half the time. We'd still be independent professionally, but we'd be in the same city." Khloe's heart leaped. "You'd do that? Split your time between coasts?" "I've been thinking about expanding anyway. LA makes sense strategically, tech investments, entertainment partnerships. And it means I'd be near you without hovering over your career. That's actually perfect." She moved around the table to his side. "But are you sure? That's a massive commitment." "I'm sure. These 9 months apart have taught me something. I don't need to be the CEO working 90 hours a week anymore. I can delegate. I can build a life that includes more than just business." He pulled her onto his lap. "I want a life that includes you. Every day. Not just phone calls and monthly visits." "When would you start?" "January. Give me 2 months to set up the office, hire staff, transition some responsibilities here. By March, I'd be splitting time 50-50 between New York and LA. It wasn't perfect. He'd still travel. They'd still have time apart. But it was sustainable. Real." "Yes," Khloe said. "Yes, let's do it." They spent the rest of the weekend planning. By Sunday, they had a rough outline. James would rent a place near Khloe's apartment initially. Then they'd find something together when the timing was right. He'd be in LA 2 weeks a month, New York 2 weeks a month. They'd make it work. Flying back to LA, Khloe felt lighter than she had in months. The year apart hadn't been a test of whether they could survive distance. It had been a test of whether they could grow individually and still choose each other. They'd passed. Month 10, James's LA office opened. They laughed together, and Khloe realized this was what she'd been searching for all year. Not success without James. Not proving she could survive alone, but proving she could thrive both independently and together. That she could choose herself and still choose him. That love didn't mean sacrifice, it meant integration. For weeks later, on a perfect June afternoon, Khloe Parker became Chloe Glover in a small ceremony overlooking the Pacific Ocean. No press, no corporate politics, no scandal or crisis, just family, friends, and 2 people who'd fought like hell to build something real. As they danced their first dance as husband and wife, James whispered, "No regrets." "Not a single one," Khloe said. "We chose the hard path, but it was the right one." "To many more hard paths," James said, kissing her. "Together," Khloe agreed. And this time she knew they meant it. Khloe and James have made it through the ultimate test, choosing themselves and each other. But married life brings new challenges, and someone from their past is about to return with unfinished business. Subscribe to Urban Folks TV so you don't miss episode 11, where their marriage faces its first real test. Comment below if you're crying happy tears, and hit that like button if this journey has kept you hooked from day one. Only 2 episodes left. The finale is coming. They laughed together, and Khloe realized this was what she'd been searching for all year. Not success without James. Not proving she could survive alone, but proving she could thrive both independently and together. that she could choose herself and still choose him. That love didn't mean sacrifice, it meant integration. For weeks later, on a perfect June afternoon, Khloe Parker became Chloe Glover in a small ceremony overlooking the Pacific Ocean. No press, no corporate politics, no scandal or crisis, just family, friends, and two people who'd fought like hell to build something real. As they danced their first dance as husband and wife, James whispered, "No regrets." "Not a single one," Khloe said. "We chose the hard path, but it was the right one." "To many more hard paths," James said, kissing her. "Together," Khloe agreed. And this time she knew they meant it. Khloe and James have made it through the ultimate test, choosing themselves and each other. But married life brings new challenges, and someone from their past is about to return with unfinished business. Subscribe to Urban Folks TV so you don't miss episode 11, where their marriage faces its first real test. Comment below if you're crying happy tears, and hit that like button if this journey has kept you hooked from day one. Only 2 episodes left. The finale is coming.